A short video tour of the Grade 2 star St Nicholas Church, Alcester, with some historical background. St Nicholas Church is sited at the highest point within Ulster's Roman wall defences. Visitors enter through the west door under the 14th century tower, the oldest part of the church. Above in the tower are the 8 bells: St George, Peace, Unity, Concord, Faith, Hope, Charity and St Nicholas, cast in 1948 by John Taylor of Loughborough to replace an earlier 6 by Abram Ruddle in 1735. The clock, unusually angled on the southwest corner, was installed in 1682 with electric action in 1975, converted to automatic GPS satellite in 2008. The original action, inscribed J. Price 1682, stands in the northwest end of the nave. The view of the nave from the entrance arch cut through the tower wall in 1871 comes as an architectural surprise to visitors. This 1730s Georgian nave is by Francis Smith of Warwick, a leading Midlands master builder of his day who worked with James Gibbs. Smith worked on many houses, but very few churches, of which 4 of his own designs survive in use today, his finest being All Saints, Gainsborough in Lincolnshire. The 1871 edition of the Victorian Gothic Chancel and Transepts is by Worcester architect Frederick Preedy, who pierced the tower to make this entrance to the splendid nave. The west window over the porch door is Victorian and depicts the presentation of Christ in the temple. On the north wall under the tower is the war memorial commissioned by British Legion. Of triptych form, it was designed by S.E. Dykes-Bauer to be identical to the 17th century benefaction board, which hung at that time on the opposite south wall until 1984. Plaques above were moved from Smith's apse when the chancel was built in 1871. The sculpture is of Sir Hamilton Seymour, a diplomat and grandson of the second Marquess of Hertford. It is by Count Gleichen, nephew to Queen Victoria, who had married into the Seymour family. Next to the sculpture is a John Piper print from a limited edition commissioned to raise money for the major restoration of the tower in the 1980s and 90s. As always, there is more restoration to do. The Victorian font at the west end of the nave is in carved stone, erected in 1871 to the memory of Frederick Crowe, rector 1844 to 1868. The candelabra hanging in the centre of the nave dates from 1733 and is inscribed, "Ye gift of ye right reverend Father in God, Dr. John Huff, Lord Bishop of Worcester, 1733. The ceiling roundel was painted by Elizabeth Andrews, Lady Willink, in 1988. As an artist, Eliza was best known for puffin book illustrations. Another of her wall paintings can be found at the Corrymeela community for reconciliation in Northern Ireland. The painted benefaction board in the north aisle is a unique painted wood artefact made specially for Ulster. Text painted on the outside of the doors include Ulster 1683, but recently redated by infrared to 1632 during extensive off-site conservation project. With a filled shot hole, it is likely that it was restored after the Civil Wars. The parchments within it list various gifts to the people of Ulster from 1562 until the last entry dated 1904. This is one of 4 paintings on the doors of the benefaction board. This photo is a colour re-enhancement displayed at a recent Civil Wars exhibition about the roots of social welfare and military surgery. The tomb of Sir Fulk Greville and his wife Elizabeth was erected in 1665 in the South Chantry Chapel, which became the South Aisle. It was moved in 1871 to the back of the church and again to its present site in the North Aisle in 1985 after restoration and reconsecration. The Grevilles of Beauchamp Court, later of Warwick Castle, were Ulster's lords of the manor before its sale to the Hertfords. This Fulk Greville is the grandfather of the more famous Alcestrian, an Elizabethan courtier who became Chancellor of Exchequer for James I. The pulpit is Victorian and is carved with figures of the 4 evangelists. The vestry screen, seen on the left, incorporates remains of an early Tudor screen, and the parish chest in front is late 16th century, used to hold parish registers, now in the County Record Office at Warwick. The 2-manual and pedal pipe organ is of late 19th century origin by Nicholson, restored 1992 and fitted with electric pedal action. The east window above the high altar shows Gethsemane, the Way of Sorrows, the Crucifixion, the Deposition and the Burial. The rose window shows Christ victorious. The window was donated by Emily, Marchioness of Hertford, in 1879 in memory of her mother-in-law. The Tower Cross, dating from the 12th century, was found during excavations at the Old Rectory in 1873 and was sold to the British Museum. The proceeds paid for the 2 trefoil windows and a very colourful redecoration of the chancel at that time, unfortunately no longer present today. The north trefoil window shows St. Nicholas with, at his feet, the ivory Tower Cross. The south trefoil window shows St. Faith, the original dedication of this church. In the Lady Chapel, the white marble memorial is to the memory of the 2nd Marquis of Hertford, 1743 to 1822. It's sculptured by Sir Francis Chantry. The Seymours of Ragley Hall became Lords of the Manor of Alcester in 1813 on its sale by the Lord Brooke family. The icon is of St. Cyril and St. Methodius of Serbia, painted by Marios Orthodoxou in 1993, donated from the collection of the late Bishop Alan Morgan when he moved to Ulster. It had been given to him by his friend Archbishop Gregorios of Thyatira and Great Britain. The 3 tapestries on the south wall depicting Ulster life were the inspiration in 1985 of Mrs. Elizabeth Ford. Each tapestry is made up of over 50 squares, all worked by the townspeople. The Emrys Jones Memorial window in the south aisle is in memory of Rector John Emrys Jones and his wife Maurice. Designed by Alan Younger, it shows the dove, symbol of the Holy Spirit, surrounded by representations of the gifts of the Spirit. Some background quarries contain illustrations of the talents and interest of John, the rubber ball, and Maurice, her needlework. It was dedicated by the Bishop of Coventry on the 1st of June 1997. An educated guess can be made of what the medieval church looked like from various bits of surviving evidence. The scar of a pitch roof is visible on the east wall of the tower. The surviving truss, or bits of it, is within the ceiling cavity. There are instructions to the 1730s builders to remove the south porch, and we recently found this door jamb stone when the window frames were restored. Within, we know that there were two side chantry chapels, that of Our Lady on the north side and All Saints on the south side, the south one containing the Fulk Greville tomb. And we also know there was a rood screen, because in 1657 the church warden was fined for repainting it. This would be the layout of the church in the 1850s, immediately before the 1871 editions of the Chancel and Transepts. This is how it's described by W. H. Bloxham's survey of 1847, and also borne out by the model of 1854 that remains in the custody of the church. The 1854 model on display in Church House shows us how the 1730s rebuilt church looked by 1854, before the 1871 edition of Gothic Revival chancel and transepts in place of Smith's apse. The model matches Bloxham's survey. Inside can be seen a dominating three-decker pulpit in the centre, the Fulk Greville tomb in its original south aisle position, chantry sculpture of the second Marquis of Hertford. The benefaction board is found in the old vestry, and many other features of that time are within this model. The layout of St. Nicholas Church as it is today. A copy of this plan may be found in the Visitor Guide leaflet. A timeline of events in the life of the church building, using the list on the rector board naming St. Nicholas's rectors since the 13th century. The blue line is its original Roman Catholic period, and the green that of the Church of England to the present day. In red is the Church of England abolishment by Oliver Cromwell, when at that time Matthew Bridges JP administered the legal aspects of the church and town. He is buried under the floor of the church, as are several of its former rectors and other Ulster families. Thank you for watching.